if Christ is the last way, and yeah, people have free will, but would he not have made like a clear statement of what he was, if he was two nature? Not would he not made a clear statement like saying, these people are saying the right way, like the right description of me? Would he not have made it clear amongst them? Why was there such an argument of what Christ was after?
There is so much evidence that supports the existence of God. Christ has made such a clear statement about who he is, God in human form, and he has provided so much historical evidence about his lifestyle, teachings, death, and resurrection, that the only reason anybody can be an atheist or reject Christ is because they are intentionally running away from the truth. Now, there are good reasons to run away from the truth. I don't want you telling me how to live my life, and I don't want God telling me how to live my life. I'm going to be in control. And I certainly don't want God telling me how I'm to live my life sexually. And I certainly don't want God telling me how to live my life financially. I make those calls, not God, not anybody. But you see, sir, that's not an intellectual problem with God. That's a moral problem with God. And that's the only reason I am convinced people go to hell. Because they have a moral problem with God, and God says, your will be done. Stuart?
But see, that adds credibility to what the gospel writers wrote. Because in Acts, you got the Council of Jerusalem. The gospel writers could have easily gone back and said, oh, this doesn't look too good. Or why didn't Jesus specifically come in and say, hey, the Jew-Gentile divide? This is causing quite a chasm. Let me go in and fix this real quick, and then, hey, I'll take off to heaven. Or the gospel writers, like I said, could have done it where it's, hey, let's not have these documents get out, because this is kind of discrediting our message in a way. So they easily could have just said, let's just wipe it away. There we go. Jesus the first and last. There's no division over our message whatsoever. No, they left it in there because it really happened. And they wanted to be honest to a historical fact that was also extra biblical, by the way. It wasn't just the gospel writers talking about it. And then secondly, kind of like to my dad's point, it's the internal messaging of what happened with Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. That was preached within weeks after the events themselves. Now, it wasn't written down for a little while, about 12, 15 years was Paul's earliest. The creeds, though, were actually written down even earlier. The Gospels, 40 to 70 to 80 years. But again, that messaging, the whole idea that people have brought out here this week is tremendously annoying to me, is this idea of, oh, it's the game of telephone when it comes to those early different messages that were just passed down. They have no historical understanding of oral tradition that was used throughout the known world. It wasn't just like the Christians were. And how intact that messaging was kept. You would be totally discredited, oftentimes to the point of your life was in danger, if you were caught taking a message and sullying it and say, oh, yeah, no, it happened this way. Oh, you would get kicked out of the community so quickly. There were no people who wanted to do that. So, yes, God could have come along and said, oh, hey, here's the perfect Christ, and all of men and women are never to get his messaging wrong, and I will make sure that will never happen. Then you get right back to the free will issue. All right, you're going to keep this perfect book written in perfect Greek, and oh, by the way, you have to know Greek in order to be saved by reading it. And oh, there are going to be no variations in it. Absolutely not. And oh, all the science and math are going to come from it. I think you know where I'm going right now. No, God did not create it that way. There's knowledge outside of the Bible, tons of it outside of the Bible, one of it being scientific knowledge, much philosophical knowledge, much of the humanities. God said there's plenty of knowledge outside of this book. Now go and study that knowledge, and so much of that knowledge points directly to him, which is pretty cool.